It's very hot today, which I know you probably wouldn't assume because I'm wearing a very thick cardigan. But it gets very hot in this room, and so I decided to treat myself with a latte, caramel latte. Hello everyone, welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about board games and board gamey things. I'm back again today for another solo video. Once again, Jeff has abandoned me to go on a work trip, which I still believe to be very rude. Nothing has changed on that front. For today's video, I thought I would do just kind of a little bit of a discussion about some of the things I wish I knew before getting into the hobby. I know all of these things now, so I thought I could impart upon you. I don't know if that's, I'm going to lower my chair. I don't know if that's the right term, but I'm going to give you some of these things that I wish somebody had told me or I wish I knew before I got in to the hobby, because this hobby of board gaming, it can be a little bit overwhelming. There can be a lot of information out there. There's a lot of ways that you feel based on what you see and hear and all of that stuff. So I have a latte. There's a silica gel packet. I wish I knew how many of these silica gel packets I'd have to encounter in my lifetime being in this hobby. It's so many. Let's just dive in. I got a little bit of a list. I got it right in front of me. I have prepared myself for this video. The first thing, and these are in no particular order, just some stuff that kind of came to me. And maybe some of these things also aren't just like, oh, I wish I knew. It could be like just things that maybe you need to hear. You know what I mean? Like the first one's a good example. You don't need to play the most complex board games to be considered a board gamer. What I mean by that is if you only play light card games, if you only play abstract games, if you only play push your luck games, you're still a board gamer. You don't need to play the most complex games if those are not games that you enjoy. I have heard so many times people be like, oh, well, you haven't played Twilight Imperium? Oh, you haven't played, I mean, I have, but like you haven't played Brass Birmingham? Oh, you don't play war games? Oh, you don't whatever? And they give you a little funny look. It doesn't matter what games you play. You do not need to force yourself to play complex games if those are not the kind of games that you enjoy. I encourage you to try them because you might enjoy them, but just because you only play a certain kind of game, it doesn't mean that you're not a board gamer, okay? And also, just because it's in the Board Game Geek Top 100 doesn't mean it's beginner friendly. It doesn't mean it's fun for you. Some of my favorite games are simple and sweet. Like you guys know how much we love Nana, Mountain Goats. These are games that are never going to make the Board Game Geek Top 100, and it doesn't matter. They're still great games for us and we still have fun with them. The next thing is that learning the rules is part of the game. And rules, I think, are the biggest hurdle or the biggest barrier to entry into this hobby, because there are some games that have like 30+ page rule books. And it might be a game that you really want to play, but you have to enjoy the experience of learning a game. However that might look for you, whether you need someone to teach you, you need to learn it yourself, you read the rule book, you watch a video, however it may be, you just need to understand that learning the rules is part of the game. But with that being said, mistakes will happen. You will forget a rule. You will mess something up. You will play the whole game wrong. It happens to us all of the time, and it's fine. It is fine. There is a learning curve, and every gamer learns differently. And maybe you need to play a game like 2 or 3 times before you know it well, and that's okay. I think there's so many people who will try and get into this hobby and then they will try to learn a game and it's too hard and they give up. All I will say is that learning games becomes so much easier the longer that you're in the hobby. Like now, I can just have somebody tell me the rules while I'm half paying attention, but because I know I've played so many board games, I know how they work, you'll start picking up on those things very quickly. But just know that it is part of it, and if you absolutely hate that part of it, that's fine. You might just have to keep playing the same games over and over again that you already know, and that's fine. The next one is, some of these are kind of like piggybacking on each other, but the next one is to play games that you enjoy. And that's not for me to say don't try new things, but play the games that you enjoy, and that can be enough. Like, there are some of us who can tend to be cult of the new, and I always have to try the new thing, and I have to, I have to play this because it just came out, or I heard somebody said this, I have to play that, I have to play this. But what happens is that you then stop playing the games that you love and enjoy playing. Like, when some of the games behind me are bad examples because I have played them all recently. But like, what's a good example of a game that I love? Kanban. Kanban EV is a great example. I've played Kanban a handful of times now, and it's a game I love. I love that game. But because there's so many other games, it's not one that's just going to hit the table because we feel like playing it. Because anytime that we have time to play a game, we try something new. And then we start to neglect the games that we love, the games that make us love the hobby. I will say, make time to play the games that you enjoy playing, because it will allow you to appreciate the hobby even more and will remind you of why you got into it to begin with. The next thing is that online play is a great way to learn games. And on top of that, playing games online, if that's the only way that you play board games, you are still a board gamer. There's so many people that come into our comments, and maybe you're one of those people, who will say, oh, well, you're playing on Board Game Arena, that doesn't count. Or, oh, you're playing on the app, that doesn't count. You're not really playing. I play board games because I want to get them to the table. That is awesome for you. But not everybody has that opportunity. Some people don't have people around that they can play games with. Some people have friends that live in a different country, on the other side of the continent, on the other side of the world, whatever it might be. Online games are a perfectly acceptable way to play board games and to connect with other people. And if you ever hear anybody say that they're not, those people are dumb. They're wrong. And if you are one of those people, I'm sorry I just called you dumb, but it's a dumb thing to say. When somebody's enjoying something and you're trying to poo-poo on their enjoyment because you don't like that thing or you don't like to do that thing, who cares about what you like? Do what you like. Do what you like, and don't make other people feel bad about the things that they like. But with that being said, playing games online is perfectly enjoyable, acceptable, but it's also a really good way to learn for some people, specifically when you are learning games like Root. Like, if you want to learn Root, we actually recommend playing the Root app first, because it will teach you everything that you need to know. So that's great. The next thing is that you should join a community, even if it's online, like the Foster the Meeple Discord. So many different publishers and creators and just random groups, random game stores have online communities that you can join. And I know I'm probably speaking on behalf of our community, but I know there's a lot of people in there who have found friends, who have found gaming partners, who have now traveled to conventions together, who do all of these things because they found a community that they could join to kind of explore the passion that they have. And it's really hard to do sometimes when you find a hobby that you like and there's nobody around you that in your life that also enjoys it. So try to join a community. Like, when we first started, our community for gaming was my brothers, and then we moved away. And then we didn't have that community anymore. And I didn't even think about looking online. I didn't even think about looking on YouTube until my brother showed me a Brothers Murph video, actually. Brother to brother. How about that? And then I was like, oh, there's people that do this on the internet. And then you start to discover that the communities that live within that. So I would say something I wish that I knew is that there are those communities and that you can join them and you can find friends and connections and people to play with. The next thing that I wish I knew is that player count matters. Player count can make or break a game. Even if a game will say it can play 1 to 5, there is going to probably be a sweet spot for that game. Jeff and I will so often play a game, and our first thing that we say after that is like, that was good, but I will never play it at 2 again. Or that was good, but I only want to play this at 2. Or that was good, but it needs more people. Whatever it might be, player count can make or break a game. So if you play a game and you're like, you kind of like the way it works and you like the mechanics and everything, but you didn't have a lot of fun, a lot of times that could be because you just didn't play it at the optimal player count. You can always go on Board Game Geek and see what the community recommends, although I also wouldn't put like a ton of weight into that because people could say anything on the internet. So like there are games on there that's like optimal at 3 and you play it at 3 and you're like, I actually think this would be better at 4, whatever it might be. But surprisingly enough, player count really does matter. So it's trial and error for a lot of games, but like an area control game, it could be the best game ever. But if you play it at 2 players, you're probably most likely, not for all of them, but you're most likely going to be like, that was fine, because area control doesn't inherently work amazingly at 2 players. So explore the player counts. Try the same game at multiple player counts if you can. Not everybody has the option to do that. Or try and focus on whatever your primary player count is. Try and focus on games that work best for that player count. The next point is that theme is a great starting point. When you get into the hobby of board gaming, it's extremely overwhelming because there are literally thousands and thousands and thousands of games. And so I think the best place to start is with the theme, to be like, okay, I really enjoy pirates. Okay, let's start there. That's going to narrow your search down for games that will fit with something that you might like. Or I really like spooky season. I only want games that have like creepy stuff in them. That's going to narrow your scope as well. So I think theme is a really great starting point. Instead of walking into a game store or online or whatever, looking at the wall and becoming extremely overwhelmed, you can ask the person that works there like, hey, I really like pirates. And then maybe give them your level. I really like pirates and I'm new into the hobby. And maybe then they're going to push you to a game like Jamaica. I don't know if there's actually pirates in Jamaica, but when we first started, I basically just went off whatever somebody told me to play. And I wish that I had explored a little bit more the stuff that I enjoyed, so I could have found some of the games that I love a little bit sooner. The next thing is that it's okay to take breaks when you need it. Jeff is really good at this. So like if you're playing a game and you need to take a break, like you don't have to sit and finish and play a game in one sitting if you don't want to. You just don't have to do it. Sometimes Jeff will get up and take a little bit of a walk, or he'll have to stand, he'll have to take a break, and we just take a break. We take a break when we need to. And I think back in the day to Monopoly and games like that, when it's like you're playing for however long, hours and hours, and then you end up hating everything because you haven't taken a break. Like you need to take breaks, and it's okay to take a break while you're playing a game because some games are like 3+ hours long. Go to the bathroom and have a snack, drink some water, take a walk, do what you need to do. When we played Star Wars Rebellion, it took us so long to play it because we took like 6 breaks throughout the day. And that was okay. This is a big one. I wish that I knew about Board Game Geek before I got into the hobby. I didn't even know about Board Game Geek within like the first month or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, maybe even a year. The first year after being in the hobby, didn't know it existed. I barely knew that Board Game Geek existed until I got into this side of board games. And it is such a useful and helpful tool that I literally use Board Game Geek every day. If you type B into my Google search, it's automatic Board Game Geek. It's going to come up right away. It's one of my quick links. When I open up my homepage, it's like, do you want to go to Board Game Geek? 9 times out of 10, I'm like, yes, I do. Thank you, computer, for sending me there. It's just such a useful tool to help you explore and help you learn. And I wish that I knew about it, and I didn't know about it. So if you're watching this and you've never heard of Board Game Geek, please go to it and bookmark it. The next thing is that I wish I knew solo gaming was a thing. Because when you think of board games, or when you talk about board games to people, and even now when I tell people what I do and talk about board games, and I'll say, oh, and I do a lot of solo gaming, you get like funny looks because they're like, board games by yourself? And I would have thought the same thing before I got into the hobby. Like, you can play a board game by yourself, but we all think of it as like a big social kind of thing, which it is. But you can be social with yourself. Girl, don't let people tell you how to live. I just wish I knew about it. I could have been playing solo board games for years and years and years, but I only got into it like maybe whenever I discovered this beautiful thing. That's when I got into solo gaming, when Final Girl came out. I think the only game I had ever played by myself before that was Marvel Champions. And even that, I was kind of like, oh, I could do this by myself? That's crazy. So I wish I knew about solo gaming before I started. The next one I think is really important and very relevant to me. You don't have to be good at games in order to enjoy them. I think inherently in the hobby, competitiveness is real, very real thing. People get very competitive, and then if they don't win, or if they're not good at a game, if they can't optimize a game, they end up not having fun. And I think it's a really good thing to learn and teach yourself that it's okay to be bad at a game. I think there's so many people that assume Jeff and I are good at board games because we play them so often. We're not. We suck at board games. We get trounced pretty much every game that we play, but we don't care because we're just there to have fun. I don't care if I win or lose. I care sometimes, like if it's me and Jeff and we're kind of like getting our little competitive between the two of us, like we can be competitive and I'm like, dang, Jeff beat me. But at the end of the day, I don't care. We know so many people who care so much. And I just don't know how that could be fun. And I just want people to know that if you are bad at games and if you lose all the time, it can still be fun. And you shouldn't focus so much on winning because at the end of the day, it's not the point of playing the games. Or at least it shouldn't be. The next thing, well, first of all, I wish somebody had warned me about Kickstarter. Because there's just so much money. Gone. I didn't even know Kickstarter was a thing until I joined this hobby. But this kind of ties into that, which is expansions are not essential. Kind of. So often, and this is, I think anyways, personally, more of an issue with games that are being crowdfunded. So often a new game will come out and then on the crowdfunding page, it'll be like, but you can also get this expansion, and this expansion, and this expansion. And you're like, oh, well, I have to get everything. You don't. You will most likely, most people, if you are most people like me, you will never, ever, 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 ever use those expansions. Ever. Ever. There are some expansions that I believe are essential. I'm trying to think of one. Like, we basically only play Res Arcana with the expansions now. Like, that's one that I like. We like an expansion that just gives you more game. But none of the expansions are essential. And if an expansion is essential to a base game, it should have been included in the base game to begin with. But like, that is something that, like, when you see a Kickstarter and you're like, oh, I really want this game, I guess I have to get everything. You don't. You do not. Lessons learned. Like, we have so many expansions, we don't touch them. Because why would we? We love the regular game. Next thing is, it's okay to bounce off of a game that everybody else loves. Like, as an example, I hate Agricola. And it seems like pretty much everybody else loves it. Or, Earth is a great example. I love Earth, and so many people love Earth. Jeff is not really a big fan of it. He's played it a bunch. Like, we've played it a ton. We played it at 2 players. We played it at more players. He plays it online, and it just isn't for him. But he kept trying. He's like, well, everybody loves this game, so I should love this game too. But do you? You don't. It's okay to bounce off a game that everybody else loves. Like, Mythwind is a great example. Sprites and Sprouts, I love that game. That is a new game that is set in the Mythwind world. I think it's great. Mythwind itself, it seems like everybody else loves, but I, for some reason, have bounced off of that game so hard. Moonrakers is another great example of a game so many people love, and I'm just like, I can't. I don't think I like it very much. And that's totally fine. But just because it's popular, everybody likes it, doesn't mean that you have to also enjoy it. And if you've tried it a few times and you still don't like it, don't force yourself to play a game you don't like. This one I love. It's totally fine to use house rules. I know there's some people out there who are sticklers for rules, and if that's your prerogative, you can do whatever you like. But if making a house rule on a game is going to make it more fun and enjoyable for you, if it's going to make it easier for you to play, easier for you to get to the table, do it. We house rule stuff all the time. We play stuff wrong all the time. I just don't care. Like if we pick up on a rule that we played wrong halfway through the game, and we'll be like, oops, either, okay, well, let's just keep playing how we've been playing. We'll change it next time. Or, okay, well, from now on, we'll change it. But house ruling, I think it's just, games are meant to be fun. And if adjusting a rule makes it work better for you, for your group, do it. Don't force your house rules on other people. Like when you go out to a convention and be like, oh, well, we play it like this. If that's not the way to play and everybody else is just learning the game, you can always say, well, we play like this if people are interested. We don't have to. We could play it the right way. I just think house rules they're fine. They're just trying to make your life better. Analysis paralysis is real. And if you've been in board games, I feel like we have all experienced it in some form, whether it's ourselves or it's other players, but it is real. And it all ties in to the competition, people really wanting to win, trying to do the optimal moves. But it's okay to make bad moves. Just make a move. You don't need to sit there and think and map it all out and then, oh no, that was bad, and then take it all back and redo it. If you're playing a solo game, AP your heart's desire. Do whatever you want, retcon. But like if you're playing a game with like 3 other people and your turn is taking like an extra like 15 minutes in comparison to other people, that's not very considerate. I think we all just need to be very aware that analysis paralysis exists and that nobody is immune to it, and we need to be mindful of it, and that if you don't make an optimal move, you will be fine. The game will go on. No one will remember that you didn't optimize your beet farm, okay? Nobody's going to remember that. They won't. You know what they will remember? That you took 20 minutes to take a turn. This is also a good one. Box size doesn't equal game complexity or game depth. As an example, innovation. Tiny little box. Itty bitty living space. Huge global power. Like, innovation is this tiny little box. It's just cards. And you look at it, you're like, oh, cool. And then you play it and it like takes up the whole table and it's so complex and there's so much stuff going on. And I think that's something people need to know as they're going into a game store or shopping or doing whatever. Like you might be like, oh, this game will be easy because it's in a tiny box. That's not true. Or this game is probably very difficult because it's in this massive box. Like Mechs versus Minions as an example. Like that game, the rules are not very complicated. It's a relatively like straightforward, I don't like light medium game. But it's this massive box, and so you see it and you're like, oh, this is going to be the heaviest game I ever played. Might be the heaviest game you lifted that day, but you have that, and then you have something like innovation. So just know that box depth or box size does not equal game depth. Next up is games take up a lot of space. When one gets into the hobby, I know that I'm not alone here. We are not alone here. When one gets into the hobby, you suddenly start to very quickly accumulate a collection. Having a game collection is fantastic. I myself am a collector. I love it. I love being surrounded by board games. But they take up so much space. Let me tell you a little story about our current situation. Here in the studio, there's games behind me. There's games sitting there on the floor. There's games in that corner on the floor. Just outside that door, we have an 18-foot wall by 8 feet high game storage shelves full. In that room, we have 2 shelves full. At home, we have our built-in game library full. Downstairs in our old game library, we still have wraparound Calyx shelves full. We have overflow storage full. Then in our office at home, we have 3 more shelves full. Then we have the haunted cabinet full. Then we have our kitchen table or our dining room table. Guess what? There's games on that too. There's games tucked everywhere in my house. They're in my book bag. They're in my travel bag. They're in drawers. They're everywhere. And they take up a lot of space. And they have, for me anyway, for us, they have taken over our home. Like, you can't walk into a room in our house without seeing a board game. And that is just something that I wish, it's kind of addicting to buy board games, to collect them, if you have the collector gene. Jeff and I have the collector gene. We love to collect everything we can. We used to collect pop figures, books. Now we're on to collecting vinyl records. We clearly collect board games. I collect pins. Like, Jeff collects retro video games. We are collectors. Just know, this is a big thing to collect. They take up a lot of space. Actually, the next one fits on very well with what I just said, which is you don't have to own every game, period. You also don't have to own every game that you like. We do, but we have had a goal for years. When we started getting into this hobby, when we started collecting the games, when we started doing all of this stuff, and we don't call games very often unless we really, really don't like it or it's not a good fit for us. Our goal has always been, well, we're going to keep these games because we plan to open a store one day, a game cafe, whatever it might be. That has always been our mindset. So we do not get rid of them because those games can be put into a library someday. So don't look at us as an example, but you don't need to own every game. You can visit game cafes, like Board and Game Cafe, as an example. You can visit local libraries will have board games often. You could borrow from your friends. You can trade, go to conventions. You could play online on Board Game Arena. Save some space. If you have friends in your area, if you have a game group, you can literally be like, okay, well, I'll get this game, you've got that game, you get this game, and then work out a collective collection, because it's an extremely expensive hobby to be buying everything. And trust me, I know when you get into this hobby, you just start blindly buying. I want this, I want this, I want to try this. That looks pretty. Oh, I heard about this one. I know that this person likes this game. And then I've been there, like, I get it, but you don't have to own every game. We are now getting to that point where, like, it's a little bit different, and we do come from a place of privilege in many ways. One of those ways is that we get games sent to us for free from publishers. But even with that, we have started to say, no, thank you. We don't have space. No, thank you. Like, it's not going to get played anytime soon. We are at that point now where we're like, whoa, Bessie. We're like being more selective about what we bring into our collection. And you can be too. But I always think it's great to try before you buy, if you have the option. I know not everybody has the option to do that, so, watch a playthrough. That's kind of like trying before you buy a little bit. Last but not least, and I think this is the most important thing of all of this stuff that I think everybody should know before getting into the hobby, and that is the players around the table matter more than the game itself. And I mean that in so many different ways. But whoever is around the table, whatever moods they happen to be in, whatever kind of gamers they are, whatever your relationships might be, all of that is affecting your play. And you will often find that you judge a game based on the experience of playing that game with the people around the table. So that's why when Jeff and I do rankings or we do whatever, top 10s, we always say, I'm judging this based on if I had the optimal player count, the optimal player group, and we're having the best play. Because you can play a game like Fuji Flush. We always use this as an example. Camel Up. That's another great example. These are games that we think are amazing, phenomenal. And other people will play them and be like, I don't get it. But it's the way that we play with the people around us, because we encourage people to get rowdy. We have our own house rules where we do the choo-choo train, or we yell camel up every time that we roll the dice. The experience and the people around the table make that. Brian Boru is a great example. We had such a fun time playing Brian Boru at Dice Tower West with Sam from Lord of the Board and Mick from Our Family Plays Games, and I think Kate was there, the lady of the board. And we played Brian Boru, and we had such a blast. So much so that it was like 2 a.m. and we're like, set it up again, let's play. Every other time since then that we've played Brian Boru with people around the table who are being kind of quiet and kind of like, I don't think I really like this, it's affected our enjoyment of the game. We still love the game, but like, it's been like, is this game as fun as we think it is? Or was it just that play and that experience, that memory? So sometimes I think that we might think that we love a game, but is it the game that we love? Or is it the experience that the game has given us from our memory? Like, you could play the same game with like 5 different groups of people and have a completely different experience and walk away with a completely different opinion and thought on that game. So player dynamics, who you're playing with, and that experience matters way more than the game. You can have fun playing almost any game. I believe that, depending on who's around the table with you. Those are some things that I wish that I knew before I got into the hobby and wanted to share that with you. I would love to know down in the comments below, what are some things that you wish that you knew before getting into the hobby? Did you relate with any of these things? I would love to know. But that's everything that I have for today's video. So, my friends, if you're interested in buying board games, you should first start by checking with your friendly local gaming store, and for us, that's the Boardroom Game Cafe. And if you like what you see, please subscribe. I hope to see you again soon. And now I say goodbye. Goodbye. Oh yeah, that's good. Can this chair go up any higher? Better. Latte. God, that's good. Yeah. Latte break. That is like the nectar of the gods. Caffeine, yeah. Ice cream, Caramel, you betcha. Whipped cream, 100%. Latte. How many clips at the end of this video are just going to be me drinking this? It's not going to be 0. Melting.